Hey there, everybody in the FFBE Global Facebook group. Welcome to another Ask an Old Mog video. And hello to everybody on YouTube who sees this video as well. This week's video is going to be about a couple different things. Well, the first one is going to be about STMR Moogles and whether or not you should be picking up more than one copy of an STMR. I'm going to go through the criteria that I use to think about like how I make that decision. You know, how many copies of this do I want? How many copies of that do I want? There's a bunch of different things to consider, and then we're going to talk a little bit about different ways to get those STMRs. And so let's talk a little bit about that right here. So this question came from, this topic did come from a question that I found in the FFBE Global Facebook group. It was this one. So, is there a need for 2x Roberta STMR? Can I feed the duplicates away? And the answer that I have to this question is that unfortunately it is very much so an it depends answer. And there's a lot of things that it's going to depend on, but I want to talk a little bit about that. So here's my first set of criteria. The first thing you want to ask yourself is, what is the unit's best in slot build? Some units are going to get a specific bonus by equipping their own STMR or TMR, and sometimes that benefit stacks. Sometimes it does not stack. And so in the situation when it does, 2 copies of that STMR is going to be ideal. And so there's 2 examples that I can think of, only one that I can demonstrate for you right now, and that's going to be Roberta and Ignitos and Dark Rain. So here's Roberta. You know, she's got her STMR here, the Crimson Malice, and if we click on it and hold it, we see that we get a couple different passives, right? Winged Wrath is just jump damage and human killer, which is kind of nice just on its own, just to have that. But then this one, a Dragoon called Crimson Death. She gets this specifically, so it's 500 attack and magic for the wearer, and only for certain units, and it's going to be Roberta Ignitos, and Crimson Death Roberta. So those 3 units only, and it does stack. So having that on there, having 2 of these, means she's going to get 1,000 attack and 1,000 magic. So having these is very, very good. This also stacks the damage boost for physical abilities. So this is very good for all forms of Roberta to have 2 of these equipped. So you want 2 of these. I don't have a Dark Rain, but Dark Rain's is the same way. When Dark Rain equips his STMR, he gets a big passive stat boost. And he gets to do it twice. So you definitely want to have 2 of those. Keep an eye out for any of these. We've talked about this before when it comes to like how to build certain units. We've talked about it for Terra and for like Zidane, for Arden and Noctis. Sephiroth is another one. Cloud's another one. Titus is another one, where units have these special gear bonuses for wearing specific items, and so you want to look out for those, especially ones that stack. That way you can get as many copies of that as possible, you know, within reason, depending on your resources, etc. But there's that. So I'm going to just say, as an added benefit, and this is going to come in more down the road, you might want more than 2 in some circumstances. But definitely for Roberta, you definitely want 2 at least, at the minimum. Okay, number 2, second criteria. Is the benefit that is provided by this item going to be unique, rare, otherwise unobtainable, or important for some content? And the example that I have for this one is going to be Sky's STMR, in particular for the most recent Dark Visions event. And I've said this a couple of different times in a couple of different formats, that like Dark Visions, especially this particular one, the damage or the difficulty of Dark Visions is arbitrarily set by how many copies of some STMRs players have. In this most recent event, Sky's STMR, the Nomad's Necklace, because it gave Dragon Killer and Reaper Killer and high attack stat, or reasonable attack stat, 65 is not bad at all, because it gave that to Reapers and the Killer for Reaper and Dragons, it was invaluable. So if people who had, you know, 8, 10, 12 copies of it could have all 12 of those equipped and got a big boost to Dragon and Reaper Killer just by putting on good accessories. And it helped boost up their damage significantly. And so you want to have as many copies of that as possible. Now, in a lot of situations, a Dragon Reaper Killer STMR is not going to be that valuable. So sometimes it's not going to be good at all, except for like on Sky, where she's going to get a passive benefit from wearing her own STMR. But sometimes it's awesome. So you got to kind of think about that. You know, what are the situations when you really need that? Or is the benefit rare? Killers are super useful. So anything that gives killers or really high resistances, very useful to have, especially if it's multiple resistances to elements or ailments or, you know, what have you. So sometimes it's useful to grab more than one for that reason. And then, of course, the biggest factor of all of this is how many STMR Moogles do you have on hand right now, or do you need the item right now? You know, can I wait? Can I get this from getting more copies of the unit down the road? Can I awaken the unit to EX +2 through the Shard Dungeon and pick it up that way? You know, there's lots of things to think about when it comes to how many copies do I have and how many copies do I need to build out a unit. Do I have to do it right this instant? Can I wait? You know, when it comes to deciding which ones to do and which ones to skip on for right now. A couple other things to consider. Does having multiple copies of that STMR allow you to get a good benefit from a strong weapon imperil ability? And another, other time I'm referencing this again, Roberta and Ignitos and Dark Rain, very strong spear weapons. Roberta does a spear imperil, and so being able to like use all of Roberta's strengths and skills alongside of her weapon imperil and being able to pass those out to everybody. Hey, here, take a weapon, take a spear, take a spear, take a spear, and it's gonna be a good spear at that. You know, that's useful. Being able to give your mages Dark Rain spears, you know, especially if you have Roberta's TMR, which you should, which allows equip spear and gives a benefit to magic. Being able to give your mages a spear to use, especially one that's good for magic, will now boost their damage because you're pairing them up with Roberta. So very useful thing to consider. So multiple copies in that instance is going to help you, you know, pass around the spears and all benefit from that. You could do that the same with other things though too. Gun Imperil was really popular to do that. Still is. Fist Imperil, really popular to do that. Katana Imperil, really popular to do that. So, you know, you can definitely spread those around if you have them to do so. But the last question you want to ask yourself is, will multiple copies of this actually help more than one unit at a time? And do I actually want to run those units together in the same party? And which is kind of a mouthful to say. But the example that I have for this is Titus, Orin, and Yuna. They all get this benefit from wearing Yuna's necklace, right? Equipped to Yuna, Summoner Yuna, Yuna, Veilfor, Titus, Star Player Titus, Yuna. Orin's not on this list. A better example would have been like Orin's STMR, but like, am I ever going to need to run, you know, Yuna and Titus at the same time in the same party? And do they both need to be wearing Yuna's STMR? If so, then I need 2 copies. This benefit that they get from it, you know, this does not stack. This whistle promise does not stack. Not stackable right there. So, you know, having more than one for one unit is not necessary. Having more than one because I want to run Yuna and Titus at the same time is necessary. Orin's STMR is another example of this. If I just, you know, let me just pull it up here. Right? So obviously this works for a lot of different Final Fantasy X units, and it's just 500 attack and 50% LB damage. So this again does not stack. So I need more than one if I want to run Titus and Orin and Yuna, but I don't need 2 for Titus. I need 1 of each for Titus to kind of max him out. So that's important to think about when it comes down to how many of these do I need. There's that. So my final verdict on this: if an STMR gives a strong passive benefit to that stacks to a unit, and you want to be able to run a party with multiple units all using that STMR for some reason, get more than 1. Possibly more than 2. But if you don't have enough Moogles to get more than 1 right away, don't be in a hurry. Wait for the Fragment Dungeon to come around if you can. We get it every 3 months. Make sure you capitalize on that to get those fragments and get units to EX +2 before you shard them. You know, which is a costly endeavor depending on how many copies you have, but it could save you some Moogles in the long run. It just depends on what you have going on, how many copies of the units you have laying around, how much of a hurry you're in. You know, you get Super Trustmaster Moogles very easy compared to what you used to get. So, you know, things to consider. But if you're brand new, which, you know, hopefully you are if you're watching this video, you know, definitely think about it before you just start throwing Super Trustmaster Moogles around, especially on 7-star units. don't willy-nilly throw them around for 7-star units. There's easier ways to get the STMR than through Moogles. So there's that. Speaking of the Fragment Dungeon, just as a little tip, you definitely want to prioritize time-limited units, Clash of Wills units, premium units in the Shard Dungeon. Since we only get it every 3 months, and you only get 70 shards if you do that same unit for the entire 2 weeks, you want to get the most value out of it you possibly can. There it is. So time-limited units, obviously we can't get their fragments any other way. If you didn't get them to EX+3 during their banner, now's your chance. Clash of Wills units, you obviously units that you want to run in Clash of Wills is what I'm talking about. Units that have morale scaling skills or that like help in Clash of Wills. You obviously need to have them at certain EX levels to get the score modifiers turned on. So you want to prioritize those to kind of get the points up as you want to, depending on if you want to do that. And premium units obviously have really strong vision cards, so you want to get them to EX+3 as quickly as you can to get those benefits. There's that. If you don't meet any of those criteria, if you don't have like a really strong selection of NB units to run in the Fragment Dungeon, and you just like really want somebody's STMR, then by all means stick them in there so they can get the EX+2 and get the STMR for free. But if you do have time-limited Clash of Wills or premium units, focus on those would be my recommendation. But hey, choose your own adventure, right? Live your life. And that's really about all I've got on that topic for right now. If you've got a question you want to see in next week's video, feel free to drop a comment, like and subscribe so that you can see these when they post. They almost always post on Friday nights. Depending on what I have going on during the day or what I'm doing, sometimes it's really early in the evening, like tonight, and sometimes it's like early in the wee hours of Saturday morning, like most weeks when I'm really busy. But yeah, there it is. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it's helpful to you in your decision-making process. Let's talk about it. What are some units that you think are really good to have multiple copies of STMRs that I didn't talk about? Drop a comment below so that some of the players who see that can see this. And like I said, if you've got a question you want to see next time, let me know. I'm more than happy to take requests and do goofy things. This video is also not an April Fool's video, not a joke. So take it seriously. Good advice here, good practical advice. See you in the next video.